is approximately 23:25. Who are we here with?
Ken
Ken
Ronzone, R-O-N-Z-O-N-E.
Ken Ronzone. You're with SWAT?
K9.
K9.
Okay, so today is March 16th, 2014, time approximately 23:40 hours. I'm Detective Ortiz. This is reference case number 14-23683. Currently I'm at 804 Piedra Vista Road, Northeast. I'm speaking to, can you give me your name, sir?
Ken Ronzone.
And your man number?
2400
Call sign?
756.
And you were with K9 currently?
Correct.
All right. And also present is Detective Cage with State PD. All right. Can you tell me how you became involved in today's incident?
On today's date at approximately 17:45 hours, I was contacted by Control, primary on call for K9. Actually, initially missed the call. Saw that my secondary had also called. I called him, spoke to him first, which was Officer Scott Weimerskirch. He advised that he was also en route to call. So then I told him that I was en route. That I explained to him that I'd missed the initial call from Control. So I called Control back. The initial information she was able to give me was that officers were up in the foothills, area command. They attempted to contact the subject, and the subject was armed with a knife, and she really didn't have a whole lot more information than that. While I was en route, I was able to kind of pull up the call and kind of same type of information. The officers had attempted to contact a homeless subject that had a camp behind the up in the foothills here, kind of behind the caller, for I think it said approximately 2 months, and that officers attempted to contact him, and the subject had presented 2 knives. I think is the gist of what the call said. I arrived at about 1800 hours and deployed with my police service dog Rico, and went towards the officers with Detective Keith Sandy and also SWAT officer Jeff McFarland. We started walking. The caller actually met us out front, a female caller, and she directed us through her backyard, out the pedestrian gate, and we started walking towards foothill, up towards the mountains. As we started to approach there, we could see that, or I could see one male subject. I could see him from maybe about the waist up, behind a large collection of big boulders. And I could see several officers that were attempting to contact him just to the south. When Officer McFarland and Detective Sandy and I moved up, we developed a plan real quickly to just have the officers move back a little bit further, and we were going to set up more of a loose perimeter around the subject. So as we were starting to move the officers back down towards us, Officer Weimerskirch arrived on scene, who had also deployed with his police service dog. And Officer Weimerskirch and I decided at that time that we would kind of help assist with the perimeter. And about that time, the subject started to move back towards his camp and kind of out of the field of view of officers. Mm-hmm. It was unknown if the subject had additional weapons or anything at that time. So I moved to the north, and Officer Weimerskirch eventually moved more towards the south. when I got up to the north, I met up with Officer John McDaniel, at which time I was able to get a better brief from him on the actual situation. He was one of the original officers that arrived on scene.
Okay.
And what he told me was that they were contacted in reference to the homeless subject who had a camp up there. When they contacted him, the subject was real non-compliant. Initially didn't want to show one of his hands, and then presented his hands. But then when the officer Officer McDaniel, when he attempted to pat him down, it's when the subject presented a knife out of his pocket area, and threatened to kill him, is what he said. He said the subject also had another knife, so a total of 2 knives that he had opened and threatened the officers with, and then he actually stuck them back in his pocket with they were folding knives, is the best I can understand, and left the blades open, so he stuck them in his pocket.
Okay.
I broadcast that as kind of a quick little what do you want to call it, like a brief over the radio, I guess, so that everybody was kind of aware of that and I'm referring to my notes, 1833 hours.
And that was over the police radio?
That was over the radio, over Foothills Area Command.
Okay.
When I moved to the north, I was with myself, SWAT Officer Anthony Sedler, Officer McDaniel, and then State Police Officer Bankston?
Bankston.
Thank you. We didn't have a visual of the subject at our location. A couple times I saw like the top of his head, but then either he moved or whatever, but I couldn't see the subject any longer. I could hear him. I could hear that he was at certain times extremely agitated. I couldn't really understand what he was saying. A couple times I did hear him say fuck something or whatever, extremely agitated. I did hear a couple of the officers that were with me that they could see him throwing rocks, I guess, at the other team, which was down to kind of the south. And at one point, I think it was Officer Bankston that actually said that he said something along the lines of that was a really big rock or something like that. But I was never able to see that. Back up a little bit, I was having some communication with Sergeant Fox actually on the way here, and then when I did arrive on scene, he was trying to get additional information on kind of the situation, and I wasn't able to really provide him with a lot of that, but I did have some phone conversations with Officer Fox on direction and route into here.
Okay. He
had asked if we had charges, and in the initial conversation I didn't know that, but later on I advised him that we did have felony charges.
Okay.
We stayed at that location for kind of a long time, and then as it seemed that negotiations in that were kind of failing and weren't going very well, that my team, we decided to move a little higher up the side of the mountain. Again, we were on the north side of the subject and kind of moved up towards the east a little bit. At this time, I wasn't able to see the subject at all, and actually I wasn't able to hear him as well as I was down before, even though I really couldn't hear what he was saying. We stayed at that location until the situation was resolved, and I heard the flashbang go off. I heard a couple rounds of gunfire. I couldn't tell you how many, and then we were advised that they were taking the subject into custody. And then we marked a chem stick for our location.
Okay.
And for detectives, and came back down the hill, put my police service dog away. Never had any contact with the subject.
Okay.
And that's really concludes my involvement.
All right, we'll just go back a little bit here. So first you spoke with Weimer-Skirch, and then you then went up to the other direction.
Correct.
And what was your guys' reason to go to that other direction?
So initially, we were just trying to make sure that we had good perimeter containment on the subject in case he attempted to become mobile.
Okay.
We did have a lot of foot traffic that was still coming down the trails.
Oh, okay.
And at one point, we actually moved a couple more officers a little further to the north to try to divert people because people were kind of running right through there. And at that point, it really became apparent that could become a safety issue if this subject became mobile. Of course, with the sun going down, that was a concern for a lot of us.
Okay.
That if we lost the light that we did have available to us, that again the subject could become very mobile, and we wouldn't be able to see him as well. So we wanted to make sure that we had him contained somewhat in case he decided to really go mobile, because he apparently, up until I got there even, and then of course after, he really didn't make any attempt to comply with officers. He didn't want to come down. He didn't want to leave his camp or anything like that. So
can you draw a quick diagram of your position in reference to the suspect, and then also if you remember where the South team was?
South team I wouldn't be able to tell you because I never saw them.
Okay.
And actually my position in relation to him is going to be very approximate. I could say maybe 50 yards, maybe 75 yards away.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't know because we had very little visual on him. So, so this bike path, it's something like this. I'm gonna go north is approximately this way. All the houses are here, kind of thing.
Okay.
So whatever house we came in, I'll just say that we came through this way. Those rocks were kind of in that type of thing. The subject was kind of there.
Okay.
Initially, I was probably, I'll put this as number one.
Okay.
I was probably initially there. And then when we moved, I'm going to say we were probably up, maybe like, let me make that a 2, I'm sorry. Maybe up in there.
Okay.
I'm guessing he was back. We were above him a little bit, but I don't know exactly. And then I'll say, like I said, I'll say this is maybe 50 to 75 yards.
And how far distance was he from the backyard or from the resident area, I guess?
I'm going to say maybe this distance is 125 yards, maybe.
Okay.
And I'm going to say this is close to the same.
Okay.
Maybe. So from there to there and from here to here.
And you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you made contact with the resident there?
Yeah, there was a female that was standing out front.
Okay.
And she basically directed us in through her backyard. There's a pedestrian gate back here.
Okay.
That led us kind of where...
Did she even talk to you much?
Not too much.
Okay.
I know there was some conversation with some of the other guys, but I think it was more just go right through here type thing.
Okay. So then you get there, you go up to this position, and is this where you see McFarland first, or is it?
No, actually, that would be here, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know what to number that now, but we all went together, actually.
Oh, okay. And McFarland is filling you in?
Yeah, and so we all kind of just met here.
Okay.
Near the path, and then as we started to get the officers who were all up in here, we tried to get them just back a little bit to just get more distance, and then we were going to set up our perimeter. And
you're saying you never saw the South team?
I never saw them. I know there were some guys up here,
okay,
but that wasn't what I would call the South team. They had moved up at some point to get better visual on him, because you really couldn't see anything if you were down here.
Okay.
Especially at the one point he went back in here and these rocks and that's when we decided, all right, we need to move. And then we decided to move up a little bit higher.
At any time, did he see you at this position and make contact with you guys?
No, he saw me here.
Okay.
Because he started barking at me.
Okay.
I think he was replicating my dog.
Okay.
And he was actually putting his eyes up and kind of looking at us. I don't know, kind of like he was squinting. But
So
when I
that'd have
first
been,
got
west
there,
of him?
yeah, my dog was making noise, and so
Okay.
he started barking at us. So he saw me down here.
Okay.
I don't know if he ever saw us here,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely don't think he probably saw us there, because I saw him maybe just a couple times even from this position, and that was very brief through the trees and everything, and I never saw him when we got up to that position at all.
And then over here, you're advising you left those little glow sticks?
There's a chem light at this one here,
Okay.
the number 2 position.
Okay. And you're saying you saw from the waist up. What was he wearing?
He had like a long sweatshirt or something on that kind of came down to like maybe mid-thigh-ish a little bit, maybe not quite that low.
Okay.
But that was quite a distance, so I wasn't able to really see, see what he had on him or anything.
Did you see any weapons in his hands?
I couldn't see that well.
Okay.
I know Detective Sandy had optics on his rifle, and he was trying to see that when we first got there from this location here. And at one point he said he thought his hands looked clear, but then at one point he said there might have been something in his right hand.
Okay. And you're advising at 1833, you advised Foothills Radio of the information that you received from McDaniel.
Right. And that is on the call, because I confirmed that.
Okay. And how long after that did you hear the flashbang?
That I don't know, and I didn't look at the call.
Okay.
I don't know what time that was.
But the flashbang, the couple of rounds, and then you hearing, were they all pretty much right one after the other?
Pretty close, yeah.
Okay.
There was a delay between the flashbang and the rounds fired.
Okay. Did you, and I'm sorry, I think you already said this, what did you deploy with?
I deployed with my police service dog.
Okay.
So no rifle or anything, just my dog, and I took some gear with me. I took his harness and a long line, and just because initially when I got here, of course I couldn't see the subject. I didn't know where we were going. I knew he was up in the mountains, so I didn't know what kind of equipment I needed, so I grabbed a few extra things and just kind of threw them on me to take with.
Okay, and then what kind of weapon are you?
I carry Smith & Wesson M&P 45.
And at any time did you discharge your weapon?
No.
Okay, and were you processed?
Yes.
Okay, and were you wearing any type of recording devices?
Yes.
And did you have those on?
Yes.
What
it's
kind of
taser camera, and they took that.
They took it. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know if it even caught anything at this location here? What did you have it on the whole length of the?
Not the whole length. So I had it on up here.
Okay.
Although it was beeping like it was low on charge.
Okay.
But I've had that happen before, so I'm assuming it recorded. And then I had it on again. I turned it on as we were walking through the backyard here, or
Oh, okay.
right from the get-go, pretty much. And then at some point, I think I shut it off and went over here because I couldn't see anything and I couldn't really hear what he was saying. So I know at some point I shut it off for a while because we were just standing there and we weren't actively involved.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure I turned it on right as we started to move up the hill again. But I know it was on at some point, so I think I gauged it again as we moved up, and then it was on until the end of the incident.
And at the end of the incident, you just left that position. You never went to the suspect?
No.
Okay.
No.
And how was it daylight outside? I mean, did you have to use any type of flashlights or anything like that?
It was dusk at the end of the incident. It was daylight when we started.
Okay. Any questions you have? He's on this one. Do you have anything else that I didn't ask you?
No.
Okay. I think that's about it. Yeah, we'll go ahead and conclude then.
Okay. You want me to sign this or something?
Yes, you can sign and date it.
That concluded it?
Yeah.
Time is approximately 23:50.
Yeah, my video is going to be annoying.